Hello everyone. There's some technologies right now that are being implemented that are going to not only steal your freedom, but they're going to steal your privacy also. First I want to talk about is the vaccine passport. New York is launching its first digital COVID-19 vaccine passport, and it says that the Empire State, first of its kind, dubbed the Excelsior Pass, developed in partnership with IBM to confirm a recent negative PCR or antigen test or proof of vaccination. Think of it like a mobile boarding pass. You know what? This is not a mobile boarding pass. So they tell you to think of it like a mobile boarding pass, but it is not. This is not a mobile boarding pass. It says that New Yorkers have proven they can follow the health guidance to beat back COVID, and innovative Excelsior Pass is another tool in our toolbox to fight the virus while allowing more sections or sectors of the economy to open safely and keeping personal information secure, Governor Andrew Cuomo said in a statement. Now, yeah, he might be thinking they're going to keep your information secure, but further down in the article, it says that Cuomo also recently announced the expansion of the New York Forward Rapid program, which makes low-cost rapid testing available to the public. It says results are shared with the State Department of Health's electronic clinical laboratory reporting system, enabling integration with Excelsior Pass. So if they're going to enable that, if that goes right to the Excelsior Pass database, how big of a gap is it from them to, okay, well, let's just add a few more things onto this pass. Let's add your medical history. Let's add, other vaccinations you've had. This is not going to something that's going to protect your privacy. This is going to eventually have your privacy be available to all government agencies. This isn't something that it's just going to be this one little thing. They're going to, once they implement this, they will expand this to the nth degree. That's what governments do. And that's what they're going to do with this. It's not going to stop just at some little pass so that you can get into things. And it says that it's also there to help people get in, to assist them to get into, venue. There's no assist about this. If you don't have it, the venue or the business owner says you have to have been vaccinated and you have to prove it, you aren't getting in. It has nothing to do about assisting to get in, because they're saying it's voluntary, but it's really not voluntary if it's mandatory that you have it in order to get in. That's not voluntary. But you think, okay, well, maybe it's just New York that's doing this. But the airline industry will release a COVID-19 passport on your iPhone next month, and says after successfully trialing it on an international flight between Singapore and London earlier this month, the IATA, which is International Air Travel Association, says it released the travel pass in mid-April. It said the software allows airline travelers to store verified COVID test results and vaccination certificates on their phone. The trade association told Reuters it expects to make the app available to download on iPhones around April 15th and Android later, to follow on later. It said starting in April 16th, Virgin Atlantic plans to pilot digital pass on its London to Barbados route, and then the Caribbean island will accept the app at its border, making it one of the first countries to admit a digital pass instead of paper documentation. Meaning that you won't have to quarantine if you go to Barbados from London on Virgin Atlantic and you have this passport, electronic passport. You won't have to quarantine. It means they'll let you in. And it says, in addition to storing vaccine certificates and results of COVID-19 tests, you can use the software to create a digital version of your passport. And also includes a database of local travel restrictions and other kinds of restrictions that you can easily find out what you need before you fly somewhere. It said any personal information you add to the app is stored locally on your device, and there's a secure encrypted channel for labs to send over test results and vaccine confirmation. Okay, so any personal information you add will be stored on your phone, but there's a secure channel, encrypted channel, where the labs can transmit your vaccine information to your phone. Can you not see this goes both ways? If there's an encrypted channel going to your phone to put something on it, eventually they can take stuff off. So you can take your personal information, or they can add other things to that, like your health history, your financial history, a whole bunch of things that can be added to this. If they can do it one way, they can do it both ways, and they can add more things. You can see that this has been talked about a lot. There's a lot of government agencies, countries looking at this. This is not a good idea. This is something that's really, really bad, actually. Once they start down this road, this is a slippery slope. Once they start down this road, then they can continue to have further intrusions into your personal life through these kind of electronic devices or electronic apps. Not only what the New York's doing, Virgin Airlines, the EU, the European Commission, put out their roadmap for implementation of actions by European Commission based on the Commission communication and the Council recommendation on strengthening cooperation against vaccine preventable diseases. That's a big long title that says basically they want to figure out a way to be able to share this information among the European Union. If you notice here, down here in 2022, which is not too far away, it says the Commission proposal for a common vaccination card passport for the EU citizen. Now you know that's going to be electronic. It's going to be a vaccination, just like that passport thing that you put on your phone. They want to do this for everyone. Can you say invasion of privacy here? Because the further this gets, the more and more things they start putting on these apps, the less and less privacy and security, or privacy and freedom you're going to have. Because once this is implemented, you're not going to be able to travel anywhere without that. You're not going to be able to get on a plane, you're not going to be able to get on a boat, you won't be able to go on a cruise. Probably eventually they could make it so you can't go to, obviously in New York, you can't go to venues, can't go to Madison Square Garden without these if they implement this fully. And you will then have to do this whether you like it or not. You may not want to do the vaccine. That's fine if that's your choice. If you decide that you don't want to do it, and you cannot get this passport, you aren't going anywhere. And there's probably going to be a lot of things you're not going to be able to do. This is not a good thing to happen for anyone's freedom. One good thing, and then I'm going to say this is good, I'm going to say good because the White House has rejected the U.S. vaccine passport. And it says, it says skirting uproar. I'm going to tell you the reason, I'm pretty sure the reason they're not doing it is because they want to avoid the uproar or the protests or whatever from people who don't want to do this. It's interesting though that Jen Psaki, press secretary, said the U.S. government won't issue so-called vaccine passports. White House press secretary Jen Psaki said after Texas sought to limit their development because of privacy concerns. Florida and I think Texas the governors have already put out executive orders saying that they ban that. They're not going to do that in their states. And I think that's a good thing. There's got to be other ways to do this without having to invade your personal privacy and freedoms and impinge on your freedoms just because a lot of people who are afraid of or think you should have been vaccinated to go into certain areas, fly, basically live in society. She said that the government is not now, nor will it be, supporting the system that requires Americans to carry a credential, told reporters at the White House. There will be no federal vaccine database and no federal mandate requiring everyone to obtain a single vaccination credential. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that that's what they're saying. There's also been other articles about Biden and the administration kind of putting that forward, that they need to have some sort of vaccination certificate, vaccination something, that because they want to get everyone vaccinated and they think that's the way to do it. She goes on to say that the administration wants to protect Americans' privacy and doesn't want vaccine passports used against people unfairly. I think that's one of my big points is if you're going to have this thing and you decide not to get vaccinated for whatever reason, it's your decision. If you decide not to, you shouldn't be penalized or you shouldn't be ostracized simply because you chose not to, for whatever reason. I mean, everyone should have the freedom to make their own choices. To make that choice and then still be told you can't do something, you can't fly, that's not right. That's totally goes against your freedom to be able to move about this planet pretty much freely as you want, with the exception of the normal immigration and passport requirements. Having something that says you've been vaccinated, that's just not right. Some businesses are pushing for people to show proof of vaccination before, like boarding cruise ships, entering stadiums, returning to campus, as a way to safely resume pre-pandemic operations. We've done about 17 cruises. If a cruise ship requires me to have a passport, a vaccine passport, to get on that cruise, I won't be going on that cruise. That's just not something I want to participate in, and I don't think it's right. And we'll see what the White House, comes back with. And how far this goes with their not wanting to do it. I think we'll see a change in that. If for some reason, the cases spike or something like that, we'll see what happens. But this isn't good to be pushing this kind of technology and forcing people to participate, forcing people to do something in order to participate in society. This is not right. But going along with that, the central banks are now, really looking at central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and they're trying to, many of the central banks, throughout most countries, are looking at creating digital versions of their currency. This is not to be confused with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's a totally different thing than having a digital currency. A digital currency is something similar to what we have now with the US dollar, in that the central banks create those dollars out of thin air, if you say, by typing some numbers on a computer, and bing, you have $1 trillion. Now, it's a little more complicated than that because they end up buying bonds, and then they create a bond and sell the bond and that kind of thing. But it's all done with fake money. There is no $1 trillion somewhere sitting that they're putting that money, picking that $1 trillion and giving it to someone so they can go spend it. There is no $1 trillion sitting around. By them looking at creating a digital version, is basically what that is it pushes us into a moneyless society so that you won't carry any currency around in your wallet or any change in your pocket. You won't have that because it'll all be digital. You'll simply have a card, like a debit card or a credit card, that has your bank account information and your digital version of how much money you have. And when you go to a store, it'll be something similar to what most people do now. You know, give them your debit card or your credit card and you buy your stuff and then you go home. With a central bank digital currency, it would work very much the same with one exception. You couldn't pay $6 for the Girl Scout cookies because there is no bucks. There's only digital, so you'd have to buy that through their digital currency card or wherever that's going to be. You'd be losing a lot of privacy simply because the central banks and the government are going to know everything you spend your money on. So they could essentially do something like this. Say I go and, I happen to, for some reason I'm buying, 6 bottles of wine or something, and I'm using my little digital currency card. Some bureaucrat, someone who's watching what's going on, looking at what people are doing, could say, hey, Steve, look like you bought a few too many bottles of wine, and we don't think that's good for you. What we're going to do is we're going to apply a little negative interest on your bank account, kind of penalize you for doing that, because we don't want you to do that anymore because that's not good for your health. That's just a little tiny thing of what they could do, but once they start knowing everything you're doing, everywhere your money's going, they can not only decide what is good or bad for you. They want to get that way, can get a tax off every single transaction. There is no more black market. There's no paying for cash or anything. Go buy a car for cash and then basically tell the DMV that you only paid half what you paid for it, and it doesn't work that way anymore. When they start going to a digital currency, they will know everything you do. I hope that you guys you like what I say, and you'll smash that like button so YouTube can share this information, because I think a lot of people need to know what's going on as far as technology, looking at the digital passports that they're trying to push and the central bank digital currencies that they're trying to come up with. Neither one of these things is really good for humans. I really don't think it is. It's good for government. It's not good for us, and it's not good for our freedoms and our privacy. So please, if you like what you see, or like what you hear, please share this with your friends, smash that like button, and let's try to, get everyone to see a little more of what's going on. Be paying a little more attention. I'm going to leave it right there. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. See you. Bye.